Greetings, everybody. My name is James. I am from the internet, and today we are going to be talking about the big lie. Now, I know a lot of you out there, you hear the big lie, you're probably thinking about a lot of different stuff, a lot of which is very personal to you, not the least of which I'm sure is somebody telling you that don't worry, it happens to lots of guys. But I digress. The big lie, the big lie, the one promoted by Donald Trump, started, sometime back in 2018, a solid 2 years before the election. He was sort of padding the soft landing, telling everybody, well, of course I'm going to win, but, the only way I would possibly lose is, if they fix the election. Yeah, that would be the only way I could possibly lose. Also, I play air accordion. Now, to be fair, if you are somebody who is in a constant cycle of losing, if you never post the W, if you're Donald Trump and you're like 13 for 13 on companies you've started that have gone bankrupt, you're kind of used to padding the landing and lowering the bar and, making sure expectations are so feeble that if you don't meet them, then surely it was because of an act of God or some type of fraud. And so Donald Trump peddled this for 2 years before the election, during the election, after the election, and now he's going at it again in a series of fundraising emails and special appearances around the country because, gosh darn it, Grandpa hated being locked in the house all day down in his retirement community in Florida. And while I love to joke about this big lie stuff, the problem is that there are a lot of people for whom the big lie is very serious. And other people who see that and think to themselves, well, their seriousness into the big lie means it's my big opportunity. Now, let me show you what that looks like in practice. Here we go. Larry Elder campaign concedes defeat and claims fraud before election day. Huh? Wait, what? I'm confused. It was widely expected that if and when California Governor Gavin Newsom survived a recall attempt after voting ends on September 14th, Republicans would allege voter fraud on vague or non-existent grounds. Stop me if you've heard this one before. Their Lord and Master Donald Trump has already, after all, quote, predicted a rigged election. And since this is an election conducted by a Democratic-controlled state, widely deploying mail-in ballots, the big lie, more or less, requires them to contest the fairness or legality of any election they lose. Now, this is a good opening paragraph. It touches on a couple of points. Point number one, that Donald Trump and all of his sycophants love to target mail-in voting. Mail-in voting is evil. Mail-in voting is fraud. If we allow mail-in voting, well, then surely the entire system is corrupt. Also, here is a list of Donald Trump and all his sycophants who've actually used mail-in voting to vote in the last series of elections. Of course, President Donald Trump himself loved the mail-in voting because who wants to get off the couch. First Lady Melania Trump also loved the mail-in voting because who wants to be seen anywhere walking with Donald Trump? Ooh, that's gross. Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner, well, they tried to vote absentee ballot in 2017, but in the great Trump tradition of failure, well, oops, not so much. Vice President Mike Pence and Second Lady Karen Pence also voted by mail. White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany, the one who literally started her own organization that's supposed to focus on voting fairness and equity and, all the problems in the voting system and rooting out all the way that the Marxists and the libturds are taking over. Yeah, turns out Kayleigh McEnany, she also voted by mail. Basically, him and his whole goddamn cabinet voted by mail, yet he is still the one backstopping and pushing the big lie theory. Why? Because it costs him nothing, and apparently a third of the country is more than willing to believe it, even in the face of things like facts. And now let's take a moment to hear about the big lie from the big liar himself.
Well, it's probably rigged. They're sending out all ballots. It's all the ballots are, mail out, mail in ballots. In fact, I guess you even have a case where you can make your own ballot. When that happens, nobody's going to win except these Democrats. So, look, they're very good. The one thing they're good at is rigging elections. So I predict it's a rigged election. Let's see how it turns out.
Wow, there's a shocker. Donald Trump going on perennial winner and broadcast powerhouse Newsmax to loudly decry that the election that hasn't happened yet has surely already been fixed because, gosh darn it, those Democrats are so good at fixing elections. That's why Donald Trump lost, yet around the country, Republicans won congressional seats and Senate seats and gubernatorial seats. No, it couldn't possibly just be that Donald Trump is a big fat loser. No, it's that everybody cheats against Donald Trump. And if you don't believe me, well, let's see what happens the next time you lose. Surely you're just going to admit it's because you suck, right? What? Oh, the Democrats fixed the election? That's what I thought you'd say. But California Republican Larry Elder, the talk show host who's leading most polls of the replacement contest that will name the new governor if a majority of voters decide to remove Newsom in a separate ballot question, isn't waiting for the actual results to concede defeat and then allege fraud. No. Larry Elder's gonna hop on the Trump train. Yeah, here we go. Elder appealed on Monday to his supporters to use an online form to report fraud, which claimed it had, quote, detected fraud in the results of the California recall election, quote, resulting in Governor Gavin Newsom being reinstated as governor. The only problem, on Monday when the link was live on Elder's campaign site, the election hadn't even happened yet. No results had been released, and Elder was still campaigning to replace Newsom as governor. This is like the just in case, like just in case Catholics who go to church like once a year, just in case. This series of rather bold, if premature, claims were made on a site called Fight California Election Fraud that was paid for by Larry Elder Ballot Measure Committee Recall Newsom Committee. Wow, that's a lot of words to say. Larry Elder funded a website for people to go to and complain that they saw fraud in the election that is like today or tomorrow or something. Now, of course, the second I heard about it, I had to go check it out. Yeah, it's a real thing. This is an actual website that looks like it was made by an actual 12-year-old sometime during the actual 1990s. They say that in America there are 4 boxes of liberty: the soapbox, the ballot box, the jury box, and the ammo box. When we vote, we exercise our rights as Californians and as Americans to make our voices heard via the ballot box, having listened to others making theirs heard through the soapbox. We trust in our elected officials to safeguard that ballot box such that its results will truly reflect our will as Californians. We implore you, our fellow citizens, to join us in this fight as you are able, primarily by signing our petition demanding a special session of the California legislature to investigate and ameliorate the twisted results of this 2021 recall election of Gavin Newsom, the one whose results don't even exist yet because the vote is literally going on. I feel like Larry Elder does not understand the space-time continuum, which is pretty funny when you consider that he doesn't even understand math. Because as you can see here, out of the 22 million registered voters in the state of California, 10.2 million of them are registered Democrat, and only 5.3 million are registered Republican. So in the face of all of this data showing that Elder had a rather uphill climb to A, get Newsom over 50% on the recall vote, and then B, to win as the front runner to replace him, he's just decided to sort of shit can the logic on that and go with stop the steal, because it's so much easier to just yell stop the steal than it is to concede defeat when you're losing, because God forbid we as human beings or Americans have that sort of character anymore. So even though his party is at a 2-to-1 disadvantage in the largest state in the nation, and even though every single available public poll shows support for him waning and support for Newsom keeping his job on the rise, this is going to turn into just another farcical election. It's going to turn into stop the steal. It's going to turn into the big lie and lock her up and build the wall and whatever 3-syllable chant you can come up with that Donald Trump started, that other people who actually vote Republican, are now going to chant in unison. Why? Because they think that they actually got cheated, that they actually lost? No, probably not. They're just doing what their team leaders require of them, because we are at the part of the show where there is no more middle ground. It's diametric opposition. It's what happens when you have two parties and two ideologies and nobody else is allowed to come to dinner. These two groups, they will have everybody believe that you have to be firmly over here or firmly over there, and that anything in here is just meaningless. It's alternative facts. It's fake news. You know, here in the middle where reality exists. Now, I wish I could tell you that this was all just something to laugh at. Look at the silly people saying silly things and doing silly stuff. But unfortunately, this has a much larger consequence that exists in reality. And it's that confidence in voting, confidence in the vote being counted properly, is being eroded away so that people will no longer believe in the process itself. And right about now, if you're thinking that seems like a ridiculous thing to do, why would a politician or a party do that? This is where I remind you that there was a guy in a country over in Europe during the end of the Weimar Republic whose party lost a general election. And then a whole bunch of people screamed, "Fake news! The fix is in! Stop the steal!" And then pressure was applied, and a man who didn't win an election was elevated to his seat of power, because that is what happens in a fascist dictatorship. Follow the breadcrumbs, people, because we're walking down a path that only has one possible ending. Until next time, my name is James. I am from the internet, and I am out. Peace.